Buenos días a todos, bienvenidos. Vamos a comenzar el foro. Quería daros las gracias. Os voy a tutear porque me impresionaba un auditorio gigantesco, pero así parece que estamos en familia. Así que con vuestro permiso os tuteo. Quería daros las gracias a todos por estar aquí, dar la bienvenida y agradecer muy especialmente a nuestra invitada especial, Ana Serner, a la que en realidad hemos venido todos a escuchar y que subirá a hablar en breves momentos. Joan hará una presentación. Este es el primer foro. Me voy a poner las gafas porque leo mucho mejor con gafas. No estoy tan mona, pero es el primer foro de cineastas iberoamericanas que celebramos. Este foro es posible con la ayuda de AECID, el Festival de San Sebastián, la Fundación SGAE. Han colaborado el ICA, CIMA, Caimán Cuadernos de Cine y EGEDA. El foro en realidad debería abrirlo Dolores Heredia, que es la presidenta de FIACINE y presidenta de la Academia de Cine de México, pero por razones trágicas y obvias Dolores ha tenido que suspender su viaje, está en México, bueno, intentando consolar y ayudar en aquel lugar que ahora sufre tanto. En su caso, por tanto, abro yo el foro como miembro de la Academia de Cine de España, que a su vez, representante de la Academia de Cine de España, que a su vez ostenta la vicepresidencia de FIACINE. FIACINE, para los que no lo sepáis, es la Federación Iberoamericana de Academias de Cine. Se constituyó el 14 de marzo de este año y este es el primer acto de FIACINE. Es nuestra primera vez, estamos emocionadas y excitadas. No hay nada como la primera vez, tenemos todos edad de saberlo y nos hace muchísima ilusión. Y además este es el primer acto y es el primer acto sobre igualdad de género. No es baladí, no es una casualidad. Queremos marcar un camino en el trabajo entre todos los países de Iberoamérica y queremos que el camino sea este. Queremos que esto que es tan esencial, tan básico y tan difícil, que es la igualdad de género, queremos aportar nuestro granito de arena. Nos vamos a unir a la lucha, al trabajo de muchas mujeres desde hace muchos años que vienen haciéndolo y que vienen peleándolo. Y nos vamos a unir y queremos aportar pues toda la sabiduría, toda la energía que atesoran nuestras academias, ¿no? Queremos compartirlo y utilizar ese saber, ¿no? Para FIACINE es un primer paso en este camino, como os digo, es la primera vez que nos encontramos, pero sabemos porque vivimos en el mundo, sabemos que el camino va a ser largo y duro, pero porque vivimos en el mundo también sabemos que es posible transformar la dureza y las dificultades. Entonces nosotros empezamos hoy y vamos a seguir sine die. Joan se ríe de mí cuando digo que estoy segura de que espero que mis nietas tengan otras ocupaciones, porque ya hayamos conseguido, pero a lo mejor o a lo peor tienen que seguir peleando. Lo que nos planteamos, el objetivo para nosotros en este foro, como os decía, es iniciar este camino de igualdad, porque entendemos que en la medida que haya igualdad de género en el cine, se va a transformar, se va a ver de otro modo reflejada la mujer en la pantalla. Si estamos las mujeres ahí, vamos a contarnos de otra manera. El foro va a consistir en esta conferencia estupenda de Ana Serner, que yo ya me voy a empezar a callar para que aligeremos. Luego, a las 12 de la mañana, vamos a tener una mesa de trabajo a puerta cerrada y mañana en la tarde tendremos un encuentro con la prensa donde contaremos las conclusiones. Resumiendo, bienvenidos y un placer. Perdón, le paso la palabra a María Fernanda Céspedes, directora de la Academia de Cine Colombiana y directora general de FIACINE.
Muy buenos días, muchísimas gracias de verdad a todos por venir. Solo unas pequeñas palabras antes de presentar a nuestra panelista también invitada. Y es que aquí no estamos sentados 4 personas, no estamos sentados solo 5, estamos sentados 9 cinematografías que estuvimos haciendo un arduo trabajo y que, como dice Azucena, este es nuestro primer evento, pero viene de mucho, mucho, mucho atrás el proceso que estamos haciendo y estamos comenzando de forma activa. Aquí está sentado en este momento, así no se vea, está sentada Portugal, España, México, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Argentina, Paraguay y nuestros amigos chilenos que también están sumados. Entonces somos 9, 10 cinematografías que estamos aquí preocupados por la igualdad de género y no solo desde la industria, sino también lo que nosotros estamos representando en la pantalla, como decía Azucena, y lo que podemos nosotros desde el cine sembrar y germinar el cine como un agente socializador. Entonces estamos muy activos desde nuestros países y dispuestos a trabajar por ello. No siendo más, quisiera presentar a Inés París, guionista, directora y presidenta de la Fundación SGAE. Igual, muchas gracias por venir y esperamos que esta sea una primera semillita para que, al igual que nosotros desde la Federación, multipliquen la voz en cada uno de sus países. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Yo creo que has definido, María Fernanda, maravillosamente la situación. Es decir, aquí están sentados un montón de países del ámbito latino. ¿Por qué? Porque estamos, curiosamente, ante un problema universal y, sin embargo, que es negado y para el que nadie encuentra soluciones. Quiero decir con esto, ocurre una paradoja tan alucinante en nuestro mundo, que es que en un medio supuestamente progresista, moderno, etcétera, etcétera, el hecho de ser mujer se convierte en un obstáculo en tu carrera profesional, con las consecuencias, además, que tiene o no tiene para los contenidos. Y, pese a que las mujeres en el mundo entero llevamos años trabajando para que esto no sea así, una y otra vez las medidas que o bien pedimos o se nos ocurren o intentamos aplicar no llegan a los resultados que tienen que llegar, hasta que aparece Ana Serner. Entonces, demuestra una cosa muy concreta, que es las personas en determinados puestos son definitivas. ¿Por qué? Porque ella sí está convencida de lo importante que es que las mujeres participemos en igualdad con nuestros compañeros varones en la creación del imaginario colectivo, que es al final lo que es el cine o la televisión. En ese sentido, digamos que ella aparezca nos abre la luz, porque el otro día veía yo un artículo en el cual nos decían que no nos teníamos que preocupar. No nos teníamos que preocupar porque esto de la igualdad es una cosa que se consigue. Solo con que vaya la cosa andando, decían. Y ya lo han calculado que faltan 180 años. Dentro de 180 años ya se soluciona. Entonces, claro, mi problema es que a mí me horroriza la idea de que mi nieta efectivamente… O sea, que yo no lo vea me parece fatal, sinceramente. Sí. Que no lo vea mi hija tampoco ya me parece increíble y que no lo vea mi nieta. Entonces, a ver si alguien como Ana nos ilumina y conseguimos convencer para que no tardemos 180 años. A lo mejor son 180 días con un poco de suerte incluso, ¿no? Y lo último que yo sí quiero decir es que me parece importantísimo recordar, para que tengamos memoria en estas cosas, que en España quien inicia este movimiento es CIMA. CIMA es una asociación que hace más de 10 años tuvo el valor, un grupo inicial, aquí están además entre nosotras Juana Macías, Julia Oliva, o Nieves Maroto, Esther García, y Miriam Porté, de las primeras personas además también que estuvieron en esta asociación. Tuvimos el valor de poner un problema encima de la mesa, de decir qué es lo que pasa, que somos tan pocas y siempre las mismas. Y la respuesta que tuvimos en aquel momento, en general, fue una respuesta de enorme menosprecio. Lo que se nos dijo es: a nadie le importa de lo que estáis hablando y además, digamos, habláis vosotras porque estáis ya muy mayores. Pues bueno, lo que sucedió fue que, curiosamente, 10 años después, son las jóvenes que se han formado además fuera de España y saben que este es un tema que realmente interesa para tener una sociedad más democrática, las que han dado un impulso brutal a la asociación. Entonces, yo quiero también que haya un recuerdo importante a CIMA. No está aquí Virginia Yagüe, a la que le enviamos todo nuestro cariño como presidenta, porque es una asociación que ha sido capaz de pelear enormemente. Hace 11 años hicimos el primer encuentro con el cine latinoamericano. que vinieron un montón de directoras y de productoras y fue apasionante. Así que mucha suerte, estamos todos muy contentos y muy ilusionados de estar aquí, gracias Ana, y espero que sea una jornada muy fructífera. Recordaros a todos que después de la conferencia de Ana vamos a tener una jornada de debate y ese debate, si conseguimos ser eficaces y hacerlo muy bien, habrá un documento de conclusiones y esperamos que ese documento sea un documento, además, también van a estar instituciones aquí como el ICA, a las que agradecemos muchísimo su presencia. Sois importantísimos para que se pueda hacer algo eficaz en este país y estoy segura de que podremos hacer un trabajo en común para que eso sea así, ¿vale? Así que muchas gracias, Joan. Falta.
Estar aquí. Muchas gracias, Ana. Thank you very much. Ana, por haber venido, por haber aceptado nuestra invitación. Digamos que yo estoy en minoría, ¿no? Esto tenía que ser una cuestión fundamentalmente de mujeres, como lo es. Yo soy de los convencidos de que hay que pelear por esa igualdad y que hay que hacerlo siendo hombre o siendo mujer, ¿no? Hay que hacerlo porque ciertamente la tendencia de los tiempos va en esa dirección y es verdad, como decía Azucena y como decía Inés, que el problema son los tiempos, ¿no? El problema son los tiempos. Claro, es verdad, se está diciendo últimamente que ya el horizonte de la vida ya no está en 80 años, sino en 140. O sea, ya hay suficientes adelantos, por así decirlo, médicos, farmacológicos y todo lo demás para llegar a 140 años. Con lo cual, lo de las hijas y las nietas y todo eso, bueno, pues a lo mejor se acorta un poco, pero ciertamente 180 años son muchos años. Tienes toda la razón, Inés. Yo creo que vamos a llegar viejísimos a esa edad. Y digo esto del tiempo porque ciertamente en el modelo sueco, Ana, yo me he permitido, o nos hemos permitido rotular así esta conferencia, ¿no? La igualdad de género en la industria cinematográfica, el modelo sueco. Suecia ha sido modelo para muchas cosas. Es un país modélico, realmente, ¿no? Tenéis una gran capacidad para hacer modelos. La socialdemocracia, el estado del bienestar, los coches Volvo, en fin, un montón de cosas, ¿no? Acaban siendo más o menos modélicas. Y ciertamente yo creo que en este campo concreto de la transformación social, porque al final es una transformación social lo que se tiene que dar para conseguir esa igualdad, pues se ha conseguido un récord y es en muy poco tiempo pasar de unos porcentajes de participación del 26% al 50% o casi el 50%. Bien, es verdad que esto luego se tiene que medir y Ana nos va a explicar exactamente qué significa lo del 26 y lo del 50, pero esto se ha conseguido prácticamente en 4 años, 4 o 5 años. Yo he estado 5 años viviendo en Estocolmo, en Suecia, y allí el tiempo se mide de otra manera, el tiempo social se mide de otra manera. Y hay una cosa que me llama mucho la atención y por ahí quería, digamos, darle el punto de partida a Ana, que no me va a hacer caso porque ya tiene su PowerPoint. Y es que ciertamente la sociedad sueca puede debatir durante mucho tiempo una cuestión, pero cuando llega a un acuerdo se crea un consenso de manera casi espontánea y ese consenso lo sigue la gente aunque no le resulte tan cómodo seguirlo. Es lo que dicen el modelo de liderazgo sueco. Entonces, Ana yo creo que representa una experiencia y una persona que ha sabido encarnar y ha sabido llevar a la práctica ese liderazgo sueco para la transformación social. Ana es una abogada de formación. You are a lawyer. Ok, no me equivoco. Ha tenido alguna formación también en el campo cinematográfico. You have been in a film school? Yeah. Ok. Y después de ser directora general en dos asociaciones, llegó a la dirección del Instituto Sueco del Cine. Y ahora nos contará exactamente cuál fue el punto de partida de esa gran transformación que se ha dado en la industria y en la cultura cinematográfica suecas. Así que, Ana, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Bienvenida. Anoche sufrimos casi un ataque de nervios porque ella llegó por la mañana y se mimetizó tanto con la ciudad que no nos dio señales de vida como hasta la madrugada. Y entonces ahí anduvimos 3 o 4 personas con el alma en pena y tratando de saber si Anna Serner había decidido fugarse con alguien o quedarse con nosotros. Se ha quedado con nosotros y se lo agradecemos. Ana.
Thank you. So, thank you and for all these fantastic words, and I'm sorry to disappoint you. I do understand Spanish, but I will do this in English. I'm sorry for that. But Sweden, yes, we are role modeling, but we do have failures as well and weaknesses. And I haven't achieved a gender equal society in Sweden. We are still not gender equal. I have made, maybe, we'll see. We heard about the Times, 138 years or whatever it was, 78. There are times to come, so it's really about being patient and resilient to be able to make this happen in all levels. Because right now it's the Swedish Film Institute's money that is gender equal. And as we are that important, that means that the whole industry gets more gender equal. But if they can choose, they fall back to their old patterns. And that is what it's all about. It's about structures and patterns. And as women, we are part of this as well. And we are contributing all the time. So it's not like the men are the bad ones and the women are the good ones. We need to understand this is a fight where we, as exactly like you said, that we need to contribute, all of us. But my start off was coming to the Swedish Film Institute in 2011 and having been already a profiled feminist leader. Very few female leaders talk about gender inequality, which means that if you do that, you immediately get the attention from media and stuff. So I realized, having talked about gender equality for a long time, when I got in the position of the Swedish Film Institute, it was time for me to prove that it actually works. I had already, when I started as a directora when I was 34 years old. I got immediately the questions, how about your family and the kids? How will you manage? I thought they were going to ask me, I think I take this off because it's going around. I thought they were going to ask me questions about my work, but they were asking me private questions. And that is how it is usually for women, that we get the other questions instead of what we are actually doing. So, but then I was, facing the gender inequality all from the day one in my office. And I was, by coincidence actually, sort of pushed into being the public feminist by my first day at office, we released a salary comparison in the advertising business. And it showed, no surprise, women earned less than men. So I got a phone call from a Swedish reporter from the trade press, and he asked me, so Anna, what do you say about the women earns less than the men? And I said, yeah, that's shit, but that is life. And then I had a long explanation about this, how the structure in society, and took me half an hour. I thought I was very sort of pedagogic, explaining for him why this is not only the advertising industry, but the whole society. And 3 days later, I was on the cover page of this trade magazine. It was during the paper time, so you could really see it. And it was spread over a table. It was a big picture of me, and it says, "It's shit," says Anna Serner. And my chairman called me up and said, that was not a very good move. And After that, I'm more media trained now, so I know to use that. But I had to start talking about gender inequality from that day, and I very soon got very tired of my own voice, as I didn't have any tools. I had only the words. So I decided to stop talk and start to act, and we can talk about the actions, and they can be right and they can be wrong, and then you have to change if they lead you in the wrong direction. But if you are unhappy with the situation and want something else, you need to change. And it will not happen organically. Like we heard, it takes 108 years. I'm not sure it will happen in 108 years, because change always means that someone wins and someone loses in different aspects. Maybe it's a win-win on the whole, but it's, for the moment, someone sees their power, and in this case, it's the men and the women that have learned to play the game of the men and are the few ones invited to the secret club. So the gender equality will never change if we don't do change. And change needs actions. Talk will never do any change. So that is what I started off in the Film Institute, realizing that I had to act and I had to be very clear, and I wanted to let the industry know from day one. So, of course, I got the telephone call the first day, and the first question was, what do you say about the gender inequality in the film industry? Do you think that your assignment, we had an assignment for aiming for 40-60, how come you didn't reach it? And I said, yeah, you know, first of all, I think 40-60 is rubbish. I think it should be 50-50 over time. And that was the first headline in the newspapers. And then a couple of months later, I said, I know I have to do things. I will give myself 6 months to understand what are the best actions to make change. You need to analyze. I thought I knew, because I thought maybe the film industry is like any other industry, and I've been doing this so long, so I have actually a lot of knowledge of research and where they've done the studies. But I said that I want to understand this industry, and then I'll make an action plan. And if the action plan doesn't work, I give myself 3 years, and if we're not in 50-50 by 3 years, I'm not afraid of quotas, but I hope the industry will help me so I don't have to do the quotas. And that was a very clear message to the industry. First, that I wasn't happy with 40-60. Secondly, I wasn't afraid of quotas, which meant a threat. And threats are very useful. I can really recommend it. So the history is that we did have the assignment for 40-60. I said immediately 50-50 over time. We have to measure over time. That meant that the government actually changed our assignment to say fund equally. Not aim for 40-60, but fund equally. And of course, I interpret equally like 50-50 over time. Not every year, because we do like, when I talk to you now, I will talk to you regarding long feature films, because they are the ones that have the biggest budgets, so they are the hardest films to get the gender equality in. And I will normally use the director as the position that I will talk about, because that's the hardest position to acquire. So we got the political assignment for gender equality or equal funding in 2013. And from 2017, it's just like a goal we have that we should always, everything we do should be in the light of gender equality and diversity. So we have this assignment like spread all over whatever we do. So my strategy in doing this was, as I said, to have an action plan. And it's very simple for anyone who has been doing change management, and that can be regarding change office space or change the service you provide, or whatever it is. You take notice of where are we now, you set a clear target, you make a strategy how to reach the target and in what time, and you have a budget. Anyone does that. If you change office space, you hire a consultant to make an analysis. What kind of office do you need? What kind of work do you do? What workflows do you have? And then they go out looking for office spaces, and then they come back and they recommend, and they hire an architect. And all these are investments. So that's the same thing for gender equality. You have to put money into doing change. And we have to do gender budgeting, which means that maybe something in your budget needs to go out for a while to get the gender equality budget in for a while, or maybe you get some more money, but usually in public funded organizations, we don't get new money. We have the budget we have, and we will have to make the change within the budget. And it's we do it all the time. We reallocate money, so we just have to do that. So my strategy was to find, as I was before in the advertising industry, so I know what triggers media. So I found the 5 most common arguments of why there weren't any women. And I decided to meet every argument with one action. And these are the 5 actions. And someone asked me, like 2 years in the time, how do you know, Anna, that you're doing the right thing? And I was like, I don't, of course. That is all about change. We don't know that we will reach the goal, but we have to be convinced that we are on the right path, right? So we keep to the strategy and dare holding on to the strategy, even though it takes the time that we did set out in the beginning, because nothing happens overnight. It takes time, and it takes different amounts of time. And as you said, I'm from a country that has been prosperous for many years. We weren't in war for 200 years, and we have had the luxury to start doing gender equality work since the 70s. But that didn't mean that we achieved it. But it means that my work was easier, of course, than when you have to start building everything from the beginning. So the first argument was there aren't any good women. I can't find them. They don't exist. We need to have these men because they are the best ones. So we just decided to prove them wrong. So we have started a website that you can find. It's going to be translated more, but we already put quite a lot of money into it compared to all the money we put into books about men in all times. It's nothing, of course, but we have to do it step by step. But we have digged out all women working in Swedish films since 1895 in the positions of cinematography, editing, script writing, directing, and producing. So anyone that says there aren't any women, please feel free to go in there, and we put all the new names in there, which means that we build a database of people working in the industry. The next argument that we find is very common is, but she's not experienced enough. She hasn't done these big budgets, or she has just made one long feature film. How can we trust in her? And this is a very common argument. And the first thing I actually encountered coming into the film industry, again, after many years away, was doing a pitching forum. I was listening to a pitching forum. And first, it was a lot of projects, of course, presented, all by men, the first one day. And the second day, it started off with a Finnish guy, documentarist, who had made one very famous documentary about a sauna gathering of men. It was very successful, traveling around the world in all big festivals. And this was his runner-up documentary. And you know how the pitching forums are. He got 5 minutes to explain and 5 minutes to show pictures or some of the shootings, and then 5 minutes of questions. And he started off the presentation with, it was him and his producer, and no one could proper English, and they hadn't prepared. So they were mumbling some things which I didn't understand. And I was like, what is this? I don't get it. And then they showed the rough cut, and it was gray, you know, like I think you can have the weather here, very rainy and misty. So it was a lot of misty pictures of maybe an horizon somewhere. I didn't get anything. And then it was time for the question. So I didn't get the presentation, I didn't get the rough cut. And then the question started, and one of the men in the room raises his hand and he says, do you know what? I didn't get anything. But what the hell? You made this first long feature, documentary, and it was amazing. I'm sure this will be amazing too. I trust you, I'm in. And then, you know, all the followers come along, so everyone was in. And he went happy away from the table. And the next project was the first with women. And maybe you know it because it's Iberoamerica here. So it was a Chilean documentarist. I don't know her name. She had a female producer. And as a woman, of course, she was prepared up here. We are always prepared up here because we know we're going to be so scrutinized that we really... You know, we sleep with what you call it with your tooth to not bite too hard. I do that too, because we are always so prepared. So she made a presentation which was fantastic, and it was about her grandmother having tea with her female friends once a month. Maita Bailey. Yeah, Albeiri. And so it became a film, finally. But it was about her grandmother having tea with her friends once a month in Chile from the 50s. And she explained the characters, which was one woman who didn't get any children, one very Catholic woman who got a lot of children, one very promiscuous woman, one that lost her husband, and the ones of you who saw it know that it's amazing. This promiscuous woman doing her makeup, and this very Catholic one. But so you could really see these different characters and aspects of life. And then she, after having shown these shots, it was the question time, and it was totally silent. And for me, that was the best project. And she has made one very famous documentary, obviously, before, but only one as well, but traveling around the world and winning all the prizes. And it was silent, and then one guy raises his hand and he says, do you know what? This was at IDFA in Amsterdam, so it was the best round table. So, what is this film about? And I was like, what? What is this film about? From the 50s to 2010, through Chile's history of revolution, going from dictatorship to democracy, what is this film about? But then he said the clue. And by the way, you have only made one famous documentary. Why should I trust you? And it was 5 minutes after. No one said, I'm in. Everyone was like, yeah, you know, you have to show more. I'm happy to speak with you, but I'm not sure. And that is a proof, the research all as well have shown this, that women are picked on experience and men on potential. So he had the potential after one film, but she still had to prove herself. And if you're not allowed to do films, it's very hard to get experienced. So what we did in this mentor program, we put together 5 very experienced female directors with 10 that only got to do the first one. And we had a professor in gender and organization who gave the structures. So they got a strategy to actually realize their film ideas, to go from idea through all gatekeepers, like the distributor, the producer, our film commissioners or the selecting committees, the exhibitors. There's a lot of them that you have to pass. But you have to be smart and you have to play the game. And the more experienced ones, they have some tricks. So the less experienced ones, they got to share that, and they all got a community. And everyone here who is a director, I think, but probably producer as well, it's a very lonely job for men and women. But this was a way of them getting their network, which was not a whining network, but an actual exchanging network. For women, we are always invited to all these social networks that everyone wants something and no one has anything to offer. So everyone is going for, so why don't we get it? And that is not very productive. It's better to mix with people with power and people with less power. And if you start to give, you sooner or later get. And then what goes around comes around. So the third action, which is really a lot of actions, but it was to find out why there is this that we know, that women aren't as active going to the producer's door and knock on the door with their portfolio and showing their fantastic personality to the world. Because usually we don't have that self-confidence. And usually we never got the idea that it would work, because the ones that do that very rarely get any jobs, because no one falls in love with them in that way. They do fall in love in them in other ways, but not in the professional way. So we wanted to understand why. So we have been doing studies in all film schools, and the short answer to that is women and men are treated so differently from the beginning, from we are in kindergarten, that we all need to make changes in all levels. So I'm not believing that what I do will make the change. But we will, as a film institute, we as well fund the regions out in Sweden for the film literacy and for exhibitors in small villages. And all our money is conditioned with that they have a gender action plan. So they have to show that they understand that they need to change as well. Because as well the schools are very, very much treating young men and women differently. So when a young woman in pre-film school says, I want to become a film director, she gets to hear, are you crazy? You understand how difficult it will be, such a competition. How will you combine it with your family? How will you be able to take care of your children? You will be traveling over weekends, months. Are you sure? Are you sure you have the drive? Are you sure you have the talent? And of course she sort of feels a bit insecure, while a young man says, I want to become a film director, and he gets to hear, wow, are you sure? You realize how hard it is? What a competition? But what the hell? You go. What do you have to lose? You're fantastic. You're such a talent. Just go for it. That's a very big difference in the starting point. So he feels everything is possible, and she feels nothing is possible. And then they wonder why women aren't as aggressive in selling themselves. The most important thing, I think, is the ongoing monitoring of all decisions we take in the whole institute, of everything. Everything from curating a Cinematech program to what projects do we fund in development and in production funding. And by counting every decision, we make these funding decisions once a month. We can aggregate the numbers continuously, which means that we are aware all the time. Which means that, for instance, now in Sweden, I think that I love it, that the world is now paying attention and talking about it, and suddenly the Swedish newspapers actually write about some good stuff with this, because I've gotten some real hard critique that I'm using my position for making the art political, its political identity, that I've lost the quality, I'm only in for the gender and diversity. That has been following me for the first 4 to 5 years. No reporter said, good on you, Anna. Everyone said, are you sure you want to do this? Look at her and listen to the industry. They have a lot of critique because they love to put that angle. But then the world found out that we actually did get some success, and the world started writing, and then suddenly the Swedish newspapers said, okay, someone else says we're good, so yeah, maybe we're pretty good. So in my opinion, we are now in a very critical phase of everyone believing the work is done, we can relax, nothing needs to be done, which means that right now in September, we have only funded 20% female directors, and we can see in pipeline that we will not reach 50% this year. I always say we need to measure over time, because otherwise we don't go for the quality. But if we, if we don't do things now, we will maybe be back on the basis of 26%. So we have to be on it all the time. So we may be a role model, but we are a very weak one still. The final thing was that we did a research together with the industry to find out if there are differences between the film industry and we picked another industry, which was the steel engineering industry, a very historically strong Swedish industry where the companies last for hundreds of years, in comparison to film production where you have a group for 4 months and then they disappear and they pop up in a new group. So it's a very big difference in how you can work with a group. But it turned out that everyone faced the same problems. So we all need to tackle the common arguments. She's not good enough, she don't want to, she rather be with her children. In other words, she's a good mother. Like I've heard when I had the appointment and got a board appointment, which men do all the time. They have like one CEO for a stock market company and 10 board appointments. And they say that, yeah, he's a very sought after man. He is the one man everyone wants. And with me, they said, yeah, she's pretty good, but I hope she hasn't got a family. So that is the difference with how you are treated. So by our work, this is what the results were. I don't know if you can see this, but we started working seriously with gender equality in 2000. But during that time, we always had the condition, but never leave the quality. We are in for the quality first and foremost, as there was an opposition between gender equality and quality. But what I have done is not only to work with it, but I've really worked with implementing it in my organization. But every time I get a new person on the staff, and I ask them, so what do you think about the gender equality work we are doing? Oh yes, very good. But tell me, if I get a quality project and a female project, which one should I choose? And I say, no, you will find the quality in the female projects. So we have actually, I think that has been crucial, very clearly been working with what is quality? You know, quality is always something that you have as a gut feeling. Oh yeah, I recognize quality when I see it. I've been a film critic for years. I know quality. I think actually that's why the reporters sometimes aren't very nice with me, is because I probably question their sense of quality. Because what we have said is, you have to explain what is quality. It's not something that's in the air. It's something very concrete. So we have said that quality has to be explained by 3 words. It's relevance. And for us, we get potential films, film ideas. And the decision makers have to describe for me, what kind of relevance is it? If it's a comedy, it still has to be relevant for today's society, because otherwise it's not funny. If it's old-fashioned or stereotyped in the wrong way, it's not funny. And if it's an art house film with a political agenda, it's got to be the right political agenda, because otherwise it's not relevant. The second word is originality. What's new in this? Have we seen it before? Is it the director that is new emerging? Could be. Or is it the topic? Seldom the topic, more oftenly the perspective. And suddenly the female directors have a big advantage, because we have seen so many films about coming of age of young men, especially white young men. And as soon as you do a coming of age of a female protagonist, it suddenly feels, we haven't seen this before. And it's true, probably. And the third word is craft. Do we believe that they are good enough? Is the setup of producer, director, scriptwriter good enough? What kind of actors are they choosing? Do we believe that they have control over the budget? And these 3 words make us actually talk about the project and not about the gender. So we don't talk about, is it a she now? So it's probably a quota project. So we only talk about the projects, and suddenly some male projects turns out they weren't that interesting, and some female projects turns out to be, because I demand them to present both male and female projects. And suddenly it turns out that the female projects are much more interesting than they themselves found, because we have an unconscious bias. And I will do, I don't know how long, no, but I'm okay, yeah.
Absolutely. No problem. Half an hour.
Yes, so I have 10 more minutes.
Okay.
The Boston Symphony Orchestra, I think this is the most revealing case that you can find. The Boston Symphony Orchestra in 1999 wanted to get more female musicians because they were a whole male orchestra. So they made the audition behind closed curtains. So the jury was sitting there, the musician came in and anonymously behind the curtains played their little song in all their instruments and went out. And then the jury was about to pick. And they picked more men, which was a very big disappointment for everyone. And then you have to ask yourself, why is that? Is it because women, the social construction answer that women take care of the family, they don't have time to rehearse as much? Sounds possible? Or is it the biological reason, men's DNA is more musical maybe? Or the biology that you get longer fingers, you reach better maybe? But before digging into the society structure, they redid the audition. Exactly the same jury, exactly the same musicians, and a new, the same curtain, maybe, and now with a thick carpet, so you couldn't hear the steps, so you couldn't decide who was male or female. Suddenly, they picked 50-50. Because suddenly their unconscious expectation of where is quality. So suddenly quality was actually in the individual and not the sex. Instead of, so the very provocative way of saying men has been quoted all times is actually in a way true, because we are unconscious biased towards men's possibility and potential and whatever it is. And I'm doing that as much as anyone else. I find myself all the time when people say, who are the best directors right now? And I can pop up 10 male names. And I have to, you know, now I know it because I'm talking about this so much, so I don't fall into that trap. So I know that I always start off with the women, and they are there. But I still get the male names on the top of my mind because they get the most attention in media, they get the most talk about, which means that we have to always be aware, and our counting has really helped us with that. But what happened was, as you can see, in the years of 2000 and 2005, we said we do quality first, but very important with gender equality. And we funded 20% female directors. In 2006 to 2012, the next director, as well a woman, said exactly the same thing. Now with the assignment of we should aim for 40-60, which is rubbish because if you aim for 40-60, you will make that the target. And then it's always the women that are the 40 and the men are the 60. And that is not gender equal. And then I came in 2011 in the fall, and I launched this action plan in 2012, saying very clearly, if you don't help me, I'm not afraid of quota, and I don't believe in that women don't do quality, and I think it should be 50-50. And money talks, so the industry heard me very well. And all the female producers and directors and scriptwriters, they tell me now that they got phone calls immediately. So hi, you know, they were going through their Rolodexes and they said, yeah, there's a woman. Suddenly she was pretty good. Before she wasn't competent enough. So the first year we popped up from 29% immediately. And I hope I have, yes. This is the curve. It's as well a proof of we do not do quotas. Everyone still believes it, but we do not do quotas. But you can see it goes up and down. I think maybe there is a red... No. Oh, yeah, okay. You see here, 2014, we had like over 65% producers. And actually in 2016, we had 64% female directors. But the year before, we had only 40% female directors. And this year, we are dropping down maybe to 30%. It's scary, because I get questioned all the time. But it's very important to understand that this is a long-term journey. And we need to be able, women as well, to be able both to have successes and flops. There are a lot of bad movies out there, and 80% of them have been made by men. So it's not like you have a quality because it's a man. It's the project. And I think that has helped me so much, because what happened? Did it show that the women weren't good enough? No. And I'm so happy about this. This doesn't help. I don't know if I do like this. But it's hard for you to see. But if you look at the this part, you can see that on an average, we have a little bit over 50% of the participants in the top festivals that are women. And it's directors and producers that are counted into this math. But you can as well see, maybe for you, this is not because you're from big countries with a lot of inhabitants, but we are a country of 10 million people. It's like Madrid, right? And we had, it's okay for 1 year to have a lot of films, but year after year after year to have a lot of films, that shows that we're doing something right. And that's what I'm telling people that say to me, yeah, but the popular national films, you know, the big Swedish comedies have failed in the cinemas in Sweden during this period. And that's true. I think 85% of them were made by men, so it wasn't the problem of the women. But then it has been my fault, because I've been unfocused, they say. You were only doing the gender equality stuff. And that's why when you see now that, okay, so we're doing something right, so we have to keep that, and then we will have to change what is not working. Obviously, some shape-up has to be made with those projects that are the more commercial ones, made by only men almost. So I think we need to focus on them to start blend a little bit of more diversity in those films. And we are here in San Sebastian now with 3 films, but this has been, I would say 2017 has been the historically best Swedish film year ever. We started off winning Sundance Festival. We won the Golden Palm in Cannes. We opened Toronto Film Festival, which has never happened for a Nordic film ever, with the whole North American market. We have 3 films in competition here in different sections. And we have had films that have been traveling for, you know, sold to 100 territories out in the world. And we have never had as good critic awards on an average over these past year that we've had these past years. And on the top 10 films the past, I would say since 2000 maybe, the top 10 rewards from critics in Sweden, the top 3 are female directors. So the women do deliver, but they are still considered to, yeah, but that's hard to find them, you know. So that's what we are challenging now. And that's why we finished our last action plan, actually achieving 50-50 over the period, having all these successes with the quality. And now we will take the next step. So we made a new action plan, which is much of a continuation of this one. We will keep on counting, I don't know, yeah. We will keep on building Nordic women in film, so add on more women, try to get the other Nordic countries. The other Nordic countries are not with us, it's only Swedish. And when I presented this project, everyone was very happy and said, yeah, we are going with you. Good project, Anna, you do the work, and we follow. And then I said, yeah, okay, after a year, now you will have to pay us because we are constructing this website. And then suddenly, no, you know, this is not a priority for us. And we have cut downs in our offices. So it's only a Swedish project. But now we are actually leading in the Nordic countries in the International Film Festival. Denmark, that has been the strong Nordic country, have a very big problem right now. The 3 women they fund 17% to women. They have been picked up by Hollywood, so they're not there. And then they have Lars von Trier, they have like 2, 3, 4 maybe other guys. One is actually here, the charmer, he's a Swede actually, and he's from Iran, I think, so it's a diversity program. He's not diverse, but he is sort of ticking in a box, him as well, which doesn't mean that he's excellent. But they have, the talent aren't there, so they don't have the next generation. And I say to them, so you still believe that I'm doing the wrong thing, doing the gender equality, when you look how many films we have in competitions and in international festivals, and you say you have a problem, maybe you should start finding talents in both sexes? And then they say, I'm mad. And the Danes are very liberal, so they believe that things will sort out in 180 years. We're there. We will continue counting, and we will have a special focus on getting women to get the bigger budgets. And I said in Toronto when I was there speaking, which was a very big headline, as I now know how to use the media, I said, so remember, I'm not afraid of quotas. If the industry doesn't help us to give the bigger budgets for women, then I'm not afraid of quotas. We have shown that women deliver, so let them. And we will spread more knowledge. That's why I'm here, that it's amazing that the rest of the world starts their first steps sometimes, and sometimes they have done a lot of work. It's very different in the whole world. But in Sweden as well, we need to educate everyone, we as well. So all my new staff get education. We will educate the whole industry. The ones getting funding from us will have to take part of gender and diversity education. It's a one-day course, it will be. But we will make them. If they don't take it, no money. That doesn't mean that every project needs to be politically correct. We don't count on the screen. We don't tell them to have diversity, gender, political agendas or anything. I try to say to the filmmakers, you do your film and your idea. It's our job on the bigger scale to take responsibility for the whole picture. So if your project is good enough, have the highest quality, you will make your film. And it can be as non-gender equal as any time, but as long as it's good. And I actually take like Ruben Östlund with The Square that won the Golden Palm. Of course, I'm extremely proud of being a Swede that have been part of giving that film money, and I really like the film. It's not a perfect film, no film is perfect. Ruben is a white man from the middle-class intellectual part of Sweden. He's very interested in white men's dilemmas. He's very interested in what happens with men and groups. He's less interested in women, and he's less interested in people of other authenticity. So he, when you see, I don't know how many of you have seen The Square, he's pretty stereotyped in the portray of the women, and actually there's a young new Swede in the film that is very stereotyped as well. But it's fine, because what he is interested in, he digs into the bottom, and he's really doing that so severely that that perspective we want as well. The problem is if all films have that perspective. What we want is to have other perspectives as well. And that's why we need to have diversity and gender equality behind the camera. Because if we don't, we will get only one perspective. And then film loses importance. It loses audience. It loses quality. And we lose our jobs. So it's a matter of common sense, really. And that's why we just have, I'm not quitting my job, even though I've been there for 6 years. So for some people, they think already it's too long, but I'm staying for a while.
Muchísimas gracias, Ana. Thank you very much. Bueno, tenemos un tiempo para plantearle algunas preguntas a Ana, que con mucho gusto las contestará. Inés.
Pues sí, yo quería preguntar, pero me ha salido un pensamiento. Es uno de sus poderes, la posibilidad de... Sí, claramente. Sí. Bueno, interesantísimo. De verdad, muy, muy interesante. Yo creo que lo hemos pasado todos muy bien y muy ilustrativo. A mí me queda una duda concreta, que es, ¿cómo hacéis exactamente? O sea, llegado el momento, porque has hablado mucho de programas que son como previos a o que ayudan a, ¿sabes? O que empoderan a las mujeres, les dan visibilidad, forman, digamos, de otra manera en valores, bla, bla, bla. Ahora llegas el momento de repartir las ayudas. Y tienes un número X de proyectos delante de la mesa. Lo que tú haces es plantear que una parte del presupuesto tiene que ir a proyectos liderados por una mujer, o das puntos, o cómo lo hacéis, o no hacéis nada de eso. Cuéntanos esa parte, por favor.
Sorry. So they read the budget. They read the budget. They read the script, or whatever it is, the synopsis, and they try to find out if it's relevant, is it original, and is it a good person? It could be a director that sends it in, or it's a production company, and then it's usually the producer that sends it in. And then they start picking the projects. In the end, when they found that so now they start working with development. Then they start counting. So how does it look like? And if it's too few women, they go out to production companies and say, hey, listen, you have to come up with more women here. Or they go out to regions and do funding talks. Or we make, it started off actually in 2010 when we had what we called the Rookie Project, which was a low-budget project running for 3 years. And it turned out in the low-budget project that it was 80% male applicants. So the person handling it, she said that this is no good. I will give all money the last year to only women. And suddenly she got like 300 very good projects with the same production companies because they want her money. So suddenly they found the women. So I think that's the way you always have to do, is to, when you realize that you didn't get enough applications, you will have to send out signals that we are not happy. Come on, because otherwise we will earmark money, which is a kind of of a quota. She did a kind of a quota. And I'm not afraid of doing exactly the same with bigger projects, like bigger budgets. So if the industry in 2018 don't provide us with bigger budgets made by women, I'm happy to have all money going to women 2019. Because I know they deliver, so I'm not afraid of the quality. And we'll see if my signal is outright.
Es un matiz, solo termino, que no quiero acaparar esto. Pero entonces, concretamente, o sea, no sucede que hayan presentado X proyectos, o sea, sabemos que suelen presentar menos las mujeres, pero que hay un número X y que se queden fuera, eso no suele pasar, ¿entiendes?
What do you mean with X products?
Es que I don't know how they're translating. Que en el momento en el que tienes, digamos, tienes de 100 proyectos, solamente 25 son de mujeres, ¿vale? Y esos proyectos, esos 25, que unos estarán muy bien, otros estarán regular y algunos estarán mal también, ¿qué hacéis? Digamos, procuráis que entren todos, os da eso lo mismo, ¿entiendes lo que te quiero decir? O sea, si ya normalmente las mujeres presentan menos proyectos, ¿cómo te apañas para que haya un número suficiente de proyectos cada año para alcanzar la igualdad, aparte de estimular el qué tal? ¿O no hacéis nada ahí?
With my very clear message in the beginning when I started off, we didn't have that problem. No, because suddenly the production companies found the women. And I would say it was as well an effect of a lot of actually very good projects that have been stopped earlier, that we didn't get 50-50 intake. We still managed to get 50-50 outtake because the female projects were on average better. And I think that is why we are now so successful, and we have a golden palm and we have whatever. The men shaped up as well because they suddenly realized, shit, it's not the easy path to the money any longer, even though I'm an experienced filmmaker. I will have to prove myself. So all projects got more ambitious now. What happened now is this is the first year where we see that the intake has dropped. And now we have quite a few female projects in development, but they are not there yet, and it's too few that are in development since before. So that's why I realized that we need to make a new effort. And I will have, like I said before, you better act. So we will do actions, and we hope it will make the production companies to find the women again.
¿Sí?
Está por aquí.
¿Yo? Hola. Antes has hablado de la infraconfianza que tienen sobre todo las chicas jóvenes, las universitarias, y lo mucho que les cuesta dar el paso o confiar en sí mismas como para iniciar una carrera. Entonces, la pregunta te quiero hacer dos preguntas. Esta, en cuanto a qué acción específicamente habéis diseñado dirigida, digamos, a este tipo de futuras profesionales. De momento te hago esta pregunta.
What we have done is that we do it in a lot of levels. We try to get the film schools to understand this, and then we have conditioned money to the production companies. We have a special funding for production companies, and to get that money, we demand them to have female talents that they nourish. So if they can't show that they have found the talents and take care of them, then they don't get our money. So they understand that pretty easily, actually. Sometimes messages go through very easily. The problem is, of course, in this industry that is very viable, that no one is having enough muscles to have a stable of talents that they sort of let do things, and they even don't have knowledge themselves how to support. And that's what I'm trying to do. I meet a lot of the producers, and Sweden is a small country, so the important ones I meet all the time. But I try to help them in how to support, because it's not by being, a parenting. It's about showing that you have trust, showing courage, and showing that their crazy idea is something worth believing in, and that they need to sort of understand that their reactions can come out of insecurity, and that they should just relax when people are insecure. They can act aggressively, and they can act nervously, and they can act very shy, and I try to help the producers to understand that is okay, and just show this woman that she can be a genius, and that's the only way I think we can do it. And these mentorships programs are now run by at least one other organization, which is a regional film fund. And they do training for producers that are the ones, and they're all female producers because the men don't want to go, but we will force them there a bit in the end. But they get to understand how to understand insecurity, which is, it's psychology mostly. But don't ask the woman how they feel about the children. Ask the men how they feel about their children in front of the woman. So she sees that he's a father and I'm a mother, so we are in the same situation. Instead of, we always ask the women, are you okay? Yeah, we will make sure that you can go home to your children. I don't know how many times I heard that for a man. Are you okay? Are you okay with your children at home? So we have to start. So it's a long process.
Y la otra pregunta es acerca de las veteranas, en este caso, es decir, las directoras veteranas en España y yo creo que en todo el mundo, a igualdad, digamos, de prestigio profesional o de currículum profesional, siempre producen películas un 30 o 40% de presupuesto inferior al de sus homólogos varones, ¿no? Bueno, yo creo que esto es así en todo el mundo, no sé si en Suecia también es así, y en todo caso, si vosotras, desde el Instituto de Cine, habéis podido hacer algo o habéis hecho algo acerca de este tema. Sí, claro, sí, además.
We can see that it's not like 30-40%, but it's maybe the female directors in average have like 70% of the men. What we've done up to now is that we have overfunded the female projects. It's still within a budget, so on average they still get less money, but it means that the other financiers realize that we are there, so then they go in. But it's a barrier to the next level of bigger budgets. And that's why we have it on the action plan, because we really need to get all budgets open for women. But it's, we will do education and we will threaten.
Are you afraid all this may change when you leave the Svenska Film Institute?
Am I afraid of?
All this may change when you leave the Svenska Film Institute?
Yes, I'm very afraid of that. And it's been actually my other jobs, because this has become a lot of my trademark, and it's very normal for a successor to get rid of that trademark and do something else. So I pay a lot of attention and I put a lot of effort into including the whole organization and making it included in all our wordings for the funding, the conditions. So it at least will take some time to get rid of me. But and then I realized I cannot leave my job now. I have still some implementation to do.
One more thing. Which budget have you got to support films, and how many films can you support every year?
We are supporting, for long features, we support between 15 and 20 a year. So it's, and out of them, of course, that's the numbers of funding decisions is what we count. But it takes, of course, time before they reach the theaters. But this fall, this spring, and maybe last fall as well, were the first times that we had 50-50 in premieres in the cinemas. Though the female-directed films got shorter term, got worse setting, and didn't reach as many cinemas. So we have, for the audience, the visibility is pretty low, actually, to be honest.
Which budget have you to support those 15?
The budget for the filmmaking. Okay, in total we have for long feature, we have approximately 21 million euros. And it's half of it we giving funding, the other half is support that comes in accordance in how many cinema tickets are sold for that specific film. So it's an automatic scheme that we can't use. So that is in my strategy as well, because that is all the very commercial films that gets all that money, and that's all men. So for me, it's a big thing to either they do it with women, the commercial films, or we will lower the amount of this after funding. And that is not very popular because the after funding is how you attract private capital, because they know that a commercial film, they get another amount of money from us. So we give an average of like 900,000 euros for a long feature, and it can get exactly that much in the automatic scheme afterwards if it reaches 250,000 admissions. And 250,000 is quite a lot in Sweden. We still, you know, some films makes, of course, much more, but there are very few. Yeah.
¿Más preguntas? Sí.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí, muchas gracias por tus palabras muy iluminadoras y estimulantes. Quería saber, además teniendo en cuenta que has trabajado, que vienes del mundo de la publicidad, ¿cómo trabajáis con la idea de este titular y esta fórmula de cine hecho por mujeres? Que para mí resulta al final un gueto. Parece que, y mucha gente lo promociona como el cine hecho por mujeres. Para el público y para mucha parte de la sociedad, el cine hecho por mujeres parece que hacemos historias de visillos, que digo yo, historias domésticas, de problemáticas familiares. Yo soy de la opinión que el cine es cine, no hay un cine femenino, no hay un cine masculino, no hay una literatura femenina, no hay una literatura masculina, hay una literatura buena, un cine bueno, y me parece muy importante, hay que trabajar en la presencia de las mujeres en el cine, más presencia, pero también hay que, desde mi punto de vista, desterrar la idea de como algo importante y grande, cine hecho por mujeres. ¿Qué significa eso? Cine hecho por cineastas con una visión concreta de las cosas. Y al margen de cómo te planteas desterrar, para mí es un gueto. ¿Y qué haces de cara a los contenidos? tu instituto de cine, analiza y tiene en cuenta los contenidos, las temáticas de las películas, que a veces a lo mejor puede haber una directora de cine haciendo una temática de algún problema masculino en particular y a la inversa. Serían esas dos.
I'm totally on your side, and we don't do the advertisement for films. That's made by the distributors. The distributors are unfortunately very often very masculine, even if they are women. So they don't think in new ways. I think that they miss out the chance of exactly what you say. This is a fantastic story of coming of age. You have never seen it before. And explain why you haven't seen it before. And not because it's a woman that made it, but because it's about a group in society or whatever it is. I mean, there are now, it's obvious when you have gender equality behind the camera, the screens get much more interesting in diversity and gender equality. So the women directors in Sweden, when we count their films, they have 100% of them passes the Bechdel test. You know the Bechdel test? No, okay, not everyone. The Bechdel test is if a film has two women in it with names that speak to each other about something else but men for at least 1 minute. And very few film passes the Bechdel test because men aren't that interested in women other than in supporting acting. But when women are directing, you have female protagonists, and they passes the test because women are normal people. And I think that the distributors should start talking about what the film is about in new ways. And not saying it's made by a woman, but saying this is a film that you've never seen before. And explain why in certain ways. What we try to do is, like we do curated programs for the Cinematheque, and we do it only with women for like a month, and we don't say it. We just do the program and people come, because exactly what you say, very few directors in the world are their names. Usually it's a film's topic that makes it big. I mean, of course there are a few famous names that drags the audience, but otherwise it's films that get good reviews in the papers, that people start talk about, and no one in the audience knows who is the director. So hanging everything up on the name or the genre of the director is misunderstanding the importance for the audience, because they want a good film. And we need to start focusing on that instead. And I think that that's what we are trying to do, and not talk so much about it. But it's obvious that sometimes we need to get the signal. So for instance, when I launched the action plan in 2012 with these 5 very simple kind of arguments, we did it on an open seminar in a special venue in Sweden where all the most important politicians, all ministers, the prime minister and everyone, all top leaders in all the opinion-making organizations, it's like 35,000 people gathered, like here in San Sebastián. Maybe San Sebastián is even bigger than that. And everyone is giving seminars about something that affects society. And it's for a week, and everyone goes on everyone's seminar, and it's really hard to get a headline out of that. All journalists from all Swedish newspapers are there. It's the biggest thing once a year, a week once a year. So we decided to launch the action plan there, and my organization said, yeah, we have to launch the gender action plan. I said, no. We will not launch a gender action plan. We will invite people to a seminar about commercials. because everyone loves watching commercials on TV in Sweden, because we didn't have that. So they used to be very good. Now they're very lousy. But people used to come earlier to the cinema to just see the commercials. And all famous directors like Roy Andersson and whoever, they do commercials on the side. So I know that because I was in the advertising industry. So we made, and my organization was, no, you're lying, Anna. I said, yes, because otherwise the people won't come. So we had a whole theater with like 300 seats, and we invited to come see commercials reflecting society in all history that led to political decisions. And the whole cinema was filled of men and women. Now here it's actually, you are quite a few men, which is, I'm very happy because this is something we have to do together. But usually it's like 90% women and they are all for it anyways, so nothing happens. But this time the room was full of men and women believing that they were seeing commercials. And then we showed only commercials showing what commercials unfortunately still do, objectifying women, showing them as stupid, non-powerful people. And of course, what worse in one way before, but now it's much more sexualized. So women are only the object. And we went through the 1910 commercials, and everyone was laughing. And then 20s, and and the moderator in between, she was making fun of this. And you could see that people were like, what the fuck is this? This is not what I thought. And then I went up on stage and I said, I'm sorry, this is a coup. I'm taking you hostages because we can all agree on this is not what we want. So to change this, we are launching an action plan, and now I want to hear, what are you doing? And I presented the action plan, and I lit up the whole auditorium, and I said, so what are you doing? Please tell me. And of course, I planted people out in the audience to tell what they were doing. And some people were very provoked, others loved it, and it got headlines in every Swedish newspaper as the big coup. Not about the gender action plan, but then what was the big coup? It was a gender action plan, so the message got through. And I think that's the way of doing it, not talking about the gender equality, but talk about something else, and then it will show. Yeah.
Nos dicen que, pero bueno, vamos a estar en la sala, y si tú estás allí, pues planteas lo que quieras plantear. Nada, muchísimas gracias, Ana. Muchas gracias. Te invitamos a que sigas con nosotros toda la jornada, y yo he tomado muchas notas. A ver si en la academia podemos copiar alguna de las cosas que estáis haciendo allí en Suecia.
Bienvenido.
Y eso quiere decir que igual te invitamos de nuevo a que vengas, y esta es tu casa.
Gracias.